Okay, like my partner said, we're splitting the blocks, so I will be covering China politics. Yep, that's it. China politics. Is everybody ready? Anybody not ready? Sorry. My bad. All right, let's begin. When looking at the China politics, you know that this disadvantage is going to hold water and is actually going to be the biggest reason why you're voting against the affirmative plan today. Let's start with the uniqueness level of the debate. I have a few responses here. First, the Whitehead in 2016 evidence lets you know what is happening in China right now. Today, President Xi Jinping is holding his party's belief that Western mindsets are bad. He is keeping his country fueled on this ideology. You know this evidence is true because it's basically the inherency story the affirmative is also telling you. We don't do much economic engagement with China, as one might think. There are reasons why we are both telling you the exact same story. Our uniqueness is true. Second, the affirmative's response on uniqueness was simply to say non unique, but I have two responses to that. My first response is that this is a linear brink, which means that the more economic engagement we have with China, the less happy the Communist Party becomes. The affirmative is claiming to be a substantial one, so if this were true, then we would see it as a substantial issue politically in China. Second is that this is unique because it's a unique problem because right now the rhetoric being used is anti-Western. It's a 180 to pass a new and substantial engagement policy today from what's being said there. This is from Brown in 2016. China's anti-foreign turns has driven trends as Xi Jinping has a lower tolerance for the unwelcome intrusion of foreign ideas that comes along with the trade investment. Xi has a rallying against Western capitalist values. Xi is pushing ideology harder. China sees itself in ideology confrontation on the West. Xi's administration is seeking to revive traditional Chinese culture to counter Western ideas. Xi is promoting a strident form of nationalism. This evidence is pretty key because what it tells you is that if they are to convince you that this plan has solvency, which means China actually accepts the deal, it would be a complete and utter 180 from what Xi Jinping is saying right now today. And if that were true, then you know that politically speaking, this is going to cause lots of problems, which is what we're going to talk about now with the link level of this debate. I have a few responses. First, the one thing we wouldn't want to be doing is if you were in China right now, is proposing a plan to pass substantial economic reform with the United States. It would be political suicide. Second, the agrees evidence from the 1NC is solid because it tells you that it's not even agreeing to an economic engagement that matters. It's the perception of the Communist Party that matters. And quite frankly, what they perceive is any new substantial engagement with the United States is bad for China. This is Mead and 12. Americans can set it in motion, but we can't control the consequences of policies that can ripple out. Leading Americans hope for peaceful and gradual reform processes rather than violent conflict in China. They do not want to dismember or impoverish China. They want to not keep its desegregation. Many Chinese have a much darker view of our intentions. They see the United States and U.S. China engagement as a zero sum battle for dominance. This evidence basically tells you is that this is bad news bears. That people in China don't want to see this, and because you will be forcing this onto China with our Western ways, it's going to lead to problems. But third, if we believe the solvency evidence of the affirmative, then Xi Jinping loses his credibility, and he needs that to get reforms done. This is proven in the internal link card from the 1NC, and further from the reforms will succeed. Short-term costs Xi must spend capital to retain control from Wang in 2016. The interview seems to suggest Xi is not worried. It means that he is prepared to accept lower growth in exchange for notable progress in his restructuring. Despite that staggering odds, Xi's strong leadership style and the rapid consolidation of power means he stands a good chance of succeeding. What this means is that he would much rather have low agricultural issues than take a deal with the United States because it's like a deal with the devil. And next is their turn is invalid here. They can't help the politics in China with a major economic reform, due in 15. China's strategy toward the TPP may present an internal dilemma. On one hand, China recognizes structural reforms are necessary. On the other hand, extensive structural reforms, such as TPP entangles it put forth as a major reason why China should not join. The apparent contradiction lies China's deeply rooted adaptive selection approach to international norms. Selective adaptation is a strategy for balancing local imperatives with requirements of compliance with financial norms. CTP is not a matter of economics is the fundamental challenge of politics. China has taken bold steps to initiate new reforms. This gradual approach protects regulatory autonomy while embracing rules for its global trade. It's not going to take the deal, and it's not going to involve itself internationally with its economic base because it does not want to get tied it down to the United States. Finally, look to the impact level. If we force this policy on China today, we will create a ripple effect. It will have devastating consequences. We'll see floods of refugees. We'll see civil war. We'll see all sorts of issues. And second, there is no risk of war with China unless there is political instability, which only happens if you pass the plan today. Right now, the political stability is pretty strong in China. So what you see is if you pass plan today, that's going to happen immediately. The link is very strong. It's conceded by the affirmative, and it's 100% probable. And the magnitude far outweighs anything in positive that you can get from the affirmative because there is nothing that you can gain in terms of impacts from those advantages at this point in the debate.